Okay, so the next thing they say to do is to install the control horns. This is the start of putting all the push rods in. You put the basically what the push rods hang on to and where the servo connects to on the rudder in both of the ailerons. Now this is what this is one of the most vital parts. So you need to make sure you put a lot of CA on. One of the things that's also important is when working on this slide of foam, you also need a plane stand. That's really important. Okay, so what I have here is an Nanolite receiver pack. It comes with an AR6300, and it looks like it has 4 micro servos. This is the recommended flight pack for the for this plane. It comes with a bind plug. It comes with a little adapter so that you can bind the plane by inserting it into this small place just to save space. That's really cool. It's a neat feature with a lot of technology. It also comes with the control horns. They ask you to replace them with the super long 3D control horns for more throws. We'll be doing that. Also, one thing I'm noticing that does not come with is a bind plug. Okay, so as I'm setting up the ESC, what I'm noticing is this is a regular Dean, and these call for smaller servos. So basically, you can only use these servos in this receiver and not other servos unless you buy more of these. Now these adapters, since my ESC has a regular adapter, I'm going to be using this little adapter for the ESC. Okay, so one thing I'm noticing as I plug these servos in is because of these small leads, the ESC has the normal lead, which is good, but there is only one adapter, and you have to bind. You have to bind when the ESC is plugged in, so you only have one and you need 2. So I'm going to be ordering another one, and I will get back to you when I have that. Okay, so now what I got here is another one of those little adapters. They're about $6 each. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the bind section of the receiver. And then I'm going to plug my bind plug in. So now that I got all that plugged in, I'm going to plug this battery in. Now we have the flashing light on the receiver. I'll go ahead and turn my DX7 on. And it's going to bind. And now the light's starting to flash. And still don't let go of the bind button at the back of the transmitter until it goes solid. Now. So now you can let go. And you'll hear that noise from the motor. And that's how you bind it. I recommend that you do a DX7 instead of a DX6i just because it has dual rates on it, and that's really good for 3D. Okay, so the next thing is to get this servo right in for the elevator. Get that in, make sure it fits, put it in just like that, and then use a low-powered glue gun or some CA to put it to glue it in place to make sure it holds really stable. Okay, so now we got the ESC tucked in there real nice. We'll make sure that's in there before we start flying. I also velcroed the receiver to the plane, and that's probably around where you should put it. It's right next to the servos, and then at the end we'll get these wires tied down really nice. Okay, so I realized that I made a mistake on the rudder control horn. It is not. I originally had it on this side. It's actually supposed to be on this side. Alright, next step, once we got this push rod in, is we put these supports on the wire. Next thing to do is to put them all in their intended spots. It's the lower right of each one. Okay, so how they have the linkage between the control horn and the push rod is shrink tubing. Now this is kind of odd, but it's interesting, and as long as it works, looks like it's gonna hold. What you need to do is attach or feed the push rod and the control horn through the shrink tubing and put a soldering iron on there and make sure it's really tight, and that will be your connection. Okay, once you repeat the same process for the rudder on the elevator, you go to the ailerons. And then you do the same thing, you trim, like it says in the manual, trim so it's almost touching, and then put the shrink tubing on, make sure it's all level. And then you take the soldering iron and you go over it, and for all these, they're pretty much the same except the ailerons don't have the supports. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put these aileron push rods on here with the those little holders right here on each wing on each side, and we're going to install these to make the ailerons. Okay, so once we have everything heat shrink right there, we take the prop. It's kind of a ring, and there's two different sizes that comes with this motor, and you stick it on the back side, and it's like an adapter, and then you swing the rubber band over. I recommend using a needle nose pliers. That's the best way to put the rubber band on because it is really tight. All we have to do, we're almost done, is put the wheel pan. Okay, so the next thing is to do the CG. Now the CG is about 9 to 7.5 centimeters from here. On mine it's about 80 or somewhere around there. So what you do is you put the battery somewhere and you move these two things. You move the battery accordingly, and since it's 75 millimeters to 90 millimeters, you can move the CG around too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Velcro that in. Okay, so we got the wheel pants on and we got the battery all Velcroed in there with the CG. Now we have an optional thing here. You can, if you're looking to do really aggressive 3D maneuvers, don't put these on if you're going to do it, outdoors and stuff. But if you are looking to fly something like E-Fest, where they have it in one big armory, then you want to do these small ones right here. If you want to fly it in a really enclosed gym, you want to put these really big ones on. And then we'll put the carbon spars there just to keep them in place for both sides, and we'll CA it together. Alright, so we got these large speed brakes and the push rods with CA. What you need to make sure on the push rods is that when you push rod it in, everything is straight down the speed brake line. Make sure it's really straight on both sides and there's no bending to it. So I got it powered up, and it all seems to be fine. I reversed everything. You'll notice that the rudder's a little off, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the soldering iron again and try to modify that. Start to hear the servos glitching. I think that's due to their small size, but for some reason they just, whenever I move them, they just start making all this noise, and I'm not even touching anything. So, no biggie. Noise is not a problem. Just got done doing is actually replacing the shrink tubing, because it's pretty hard to modify that. What I had to do is I had to shorten that carbon spar because I didn't do it before, or at least enough. I didn't do it enough. And I put a whole new thing. Don't worry about taking the old ones off. You could just go over it as long as that thing's completely on. And then I took it, shrink tube it, glued it back up, and now it looks pretty perfect.